Let's begin. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Greek House. Today's discussion will be beyond currency and the Metaverse paradigm, the expanding horizons of digital assets, redefining reality in a digital stage. But before we begin, we're going to talk to our panelists and get to know them. So let's start with you, Dr. Mart. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Dustin. 99% of the people who meet me for the first time call me Mark. And my name's not Mark, it's not Marty, it's not Martin, it's just plain old Mart. So for people to remember me, I say I'm just one S short of smart. And I'm not quite sure what my parents were thinking. I was born in Germany, so maybe they had too much schnapps or too much beer, but I know they're probably quite proud of me in this day, not with me now, but that I'm here today. So I'm very proud to be here. But I can say with a high level of confidence, the reason I am here is because of the continent of Africa. Many years ago, I participated in a mission project to Kenya, where we traveled 2,000 miles from Nairobi to Mombasa, Kisumu, back to Nairobi. And I was introduced to dentistry. I didn't even know what dentistry was. The chairman of the oral surgery department at IU, Indiana University, taught me what to do with dentistry. And I was like, wow, this is something of interest. And it was really fascinating to me and see the people's faces and how grateful they were when we were treating them and giving them care. And so at that moment, I said, I want to be of service in my life, whether it's to my community or to the world. And here we are. After that mission trip, I did 2 other mission trips to Guatemala and the Amazon rainforest of Peru. And those particular missions led me to dental school, Northwestern Dental School, where I met my amazing wife, and I have 2 grown children. And then I went on to University of Michigan for my residency, got my master's in science and orthodontics. So I'm kind of a doctor. I'm not quite, maybe a real doctor, but I'm a dentist. But anyway, so after that, I went to private practice. I was a business owner. The unfortunate thing about doctors is we don't know anything about business, nor do we know much about personal financial management. So I was fortunate to be referred to a friend that taught me how to look at money in a different way. And his system worked so well, I said, hey, as a doctor, I need to branch out away from my practice. I still practice dentistry, but we need to bring this information to the world of healthcare individuals. And so we started our company 20 years ago, Macgrowth Management, and we're very open-minded in how we look at things. And maybe 3 or 4 years ago, one of my mantras is to be curious without regrets. Well, once we started looking at digital currencies, I'm like, this is something we may want to bring to our clientele. And so I just went all in, and we just loved it. And to that point, I was invited to Africa, once again to Egypt, where I met Dustin. And that's where our relationship began. And we're just finishing up a book that just came out, Survived to Thrive. And a portion of the proceeds of that book go to some school people in Uganda. So Africa has played a very big portion of my life. And I look forward to sharing some of my insights into the digital world, the Metaverse, and I do think it's the future. So as they say in Swahili, asante, which means thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mart. Jessica.
Good morning, and it's a pleasure to be here. Big thanks to the Greek House. Everyone put this on, Dustin. It's lovely to be up here today. My name is Jessica Word, and I'm CEO of the Word & Brown General Agency. We're located out in California, and our business model is also in the health insurance space. So we are a B2B business. We help brokers with medical, dental, vision, and life insurance. We build our own proprietary technology on the front end, help them sell it, enroll it, and then we bring it back in-house and partner with our carriers and underwrite the case and then send it off and then work with the account management side, the back-end side for all of our brokers. So we don't deal with the client, we deal with the brokers. Focus primarily on small group and up to mid-size. So it's a pleasure to be here today. And I'm also excited about the book. I'm on the same journey with you. And it's just a blessing to be here. I'm excited to learn about technology because that's just leading the charge. And this is my goal today, is to meet a bunch of like-minded people and to talk about where we're going to go in the future. And I'm very blessed to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Julia.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Greek House, to be here. It's my pleasure to be here. So my name is Julia Qian, and a lot of people will call me Julia Quan. So Quan, I love that Quan. So yeah, my background, I work as a CFO for Health Intech, insurance technology company, sell healthcare product to the small business. So what we do is transform how the insurance product being sold in the market through the AI-backed digital platform. We can do a plan in 2 minutes without a human interaction. So our key customer is a small business. We also we do not deal with our customer directly. The TPA and the broker bring the business to us. We make the platform very easy to use and free to use, and only charge when that is success. So we see how the world unveiled in the digital format. I've been a finance person, starting from manufacturing world, General Motors, Dow Chemical, Johnson Johnson, then move to Citi, then go to healthcare. And I'm telling people, I see how the trend goes. Finance, fintech, it's almost 20 years behind the manufacturer. We look at technology. Now, when we look at insurance, it's another 20 years behind. I think this is the right time when we look at the technology and the digital to transform the entire insurance industry. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Julia. Now, Jessica, we just heard from Julia regarding technology. You're the CEO of a large corporation in California. Talked about your process of deciding which technologies and how do you do it? Who are you relying on through the decision-making process?
Great question. Thank you. So we're honored enough to have our own IT department. And so when it comes to technologies, it's always the build versus buy. But we're consistently always looking at our product portfolio, always looking at new developments out there, what our carriers are bringing to our space, what our brokers are bringing to our space, and what the consumers need. And we have a 3-year plan that we're consistently looking at, and we have a 5-year plan. When it comes to technology, we have a really great process that's always being changed. So we vet things through. We deal with the people with the feet on the street. We ask them, how's this going to serve you? What is the ROI? Is it tangible? Is it not tangible? And so determining that in itself is the most important piece. But ultimately, we rely on the executives and their staff because we want to know if this is something they're vested in. If I think it's a good idea, for example, but nobody else says, I'm not going to push it forward. And so we go through this great process, and then once it gets approved, which is a very strenuous process, we go through all the departments to make sure we're aligned. We put it in our project portfolio, prioritize it, and then afterwards, we're really thrilled to have this technology. I'll scratch that. Afterwards, we're really thrilled to have this technology. Sometimes technology, while we're building it, it changes. And so being able to keep up with those changes after, say, for example, a few years, you're building something that's no longer as important anymore because we're making a shift over here. And so it's just changing a lot, quite frankly. And looking at what we have today, if we may just have to scrap a project we're working on because something else is better. So it's a wonderful problem to have. And technology, brokers rely upon us. And so what we put out there is really important. We have our branding on it. It's our integrity. And we stand by what we develop. If we make an error, we're going to actually make up for it. And so we utilize everybody. And just to further answer that question, we also go out to our users. And not every user is created equal. We have some brokers that are seasoned. We have some new ones entering. So we want to make sure we take a set of people from all different experiences, generations, and see how they like this technology and kind of go from there.
Thank you, Jessica. Now, Dr. Mart, I'm going to go over to you. You're in the world of dentistry and finance. It's a pretty interesting kind of intersection. But the technology, the technology process. You've seen a lot of changes in the industry. Are you starting to see the technology going towards this mixed reality, virtual reality, or some sort of augmented reality movement?
Yeah, very much so in dentistry for sure, especially with COVID and how it impacted the manpower and people not wanting to come to office and training and things such as that. There's a brand new technology that came out about 3 years ago called the Dentiverse. And it is a metaverse, which is a virtual environment where you can do training of team members, training of doctors, as well as buying products, new technologies through this media. And I do think that's going to be a very big piece of not only the local communities in dentistry, but worldwide. Talking about Africa as well as South America, one of the biggest problems when you go to these countries is access to care. And so these people are so happy when they get care, but when they don't have the ability to get it, then creates all other kinds of problems. And those people in those countries don't have the ability or the resources to come to America or Europe to be trained. So if you can create a virtual environment, virtual reality, where they can go in as in their own avatar and be trained on even basic services using haptic gloves and other types of technology where you can actually do a filling on a tooth or do a gum procedure or anything you can do in reality, you can actually do it in the virtual space. And so dentistry is changing just light years in that respect. And so the faster we can bring that to market, the better off the world's going to be.
So going there a little bit more in terms of the tourism aspect. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are opportunities, I assume, for places like Greece and others that are leading the charge, where you can use the metaverse in different ways to show your company, to share your story.
Yeah. I mean, dental tourism, and that's a big piece of the equation nowadays, and people are doing these things, but the ability to bring the technology to the reality through a virtual space is going to be life-changing because so many other people didn't have the ability to do it. And so I'm totally juiced for that because it's going to be really, really exciting to see more people get care. And, of course, everything starts in the mouth, right? And so if you can't get something in your mouth, you can't chew it and can't, masticate it and do what's necessary, then we all kinds of problems. So if we can take care of the mouth, the rest of the body will take care of itself.
Julia, coming over to you. You and I were talking about artificial intelligence.
Yes.
What is it?
That is it's different the way people think about AI. So some people are afraid of AI. They think it's going to take over the world. And some people are embracing the AI. And I want to say is we are living in the world. We interact, we are leverage, we get more productivity from the AI. And whether from you go shopping from the Amazon, you push on the content what you're looking at, to the entire digital world of how people interact with each other. And that is AI here to stay. And I want everybody to embrace it.
So this isn't hype. It's here to stay.
It's here to stay. It's here to evolving. It's here to make everybody the life better.
To improve outcomes. And isn't it the space you're in, Jessica, working with insurance carriers, brokers, consumers, to improve outcomes?
Absolutely, to improve outcomes. AI has not hit my space per se as much as it's hitting the carriers because they're dealing with the consumers, but we're always looking to improve outcomes, absolutely. Internally, for what improving outcomes right now is the ability to still stay connected. So talking about the metaverse, we are also bringing the metaverse with the avatars to our space. Right now, we've shut down most of our brick and mortar. I used to have 5 offices up and down the state of California and in Nevada, and we shut those down, and we're really missing being together. But what's interesting is that now that we are not able to see each other as much, driving up to a different office or the office events, whatnot, we're together very frequently on the internet and on the Zoom. And so we're really excited to introduce these avatars and to create a world that we could be together in some kind of courtyard or some type of conference room, however we want to build it out, and to have those intimate, nudging somebody on the elbow when you're kind of making something funny. We miss that interaction. So we're excited to get together and do some team building events, be some interactive play. And to us, that's paramount for us. And so we're really, really excited to do that. Especially with the younger generation, they're more adaptable to it, and we're just starting to get our employees used to this concept first, and we haven't launched it yet. We're excited to do so, but I see this opening up to so many other avenues, but before we bring perhaps HR or any interactions with consumers, we have to be comfortable with it first. And what does it mean? What does it look like? So walk before you run.
Thank you. And I want to go there about working remotely. I mean, some of us are now kind of forgetting that what we went through during COVID. I mean, the world shut down.
It did.
And for those that were stuck in countries that they were surrounded by water, many of them were stuck there where some Europeans could travel. What do you think the psychological effect has been? And do you think that we are currently seeing it? And when people are working remote, are you noticing from your side that they're still productive?
Yeah.
Talk that through.
Absolutely. So I'm blessed to have the most incredible team working together. You know, we play hard, but we work really, really hard. And in a matter of a few weeks, we were up and running, made sure everyone had a laptop at home, make sure they had internet connection. We created SOPs that were required to stay productive, and we stopped printing paper overnight. Millions of pages of quotes done overnight. And so it forced some people that probably would not have gotten out of their own way to get out their own way and realize, oh, this is productive to do so. But being able to work from home, not having to make that drive into the office, those 2.5 hours on the road, that was a lot for everybody. Childcare being home, not the same for everybody, or pet care. But it was wonderful for some, not great for others, but we had a community, and the outreach program, people were more available. They were actually interacting more, saying, how do you do this? Let's all work together and build this process. Great. We can have SOPs, but it means nothing if it's not built together. And so this team really pulled hard together. And now I'm so proud of them. We did not skip a beat whatsoever, because what we do is so important. I love what we do, because giving health insurance, we're helping the end user. We're helping the family that has a preemie that night that needs coverage. That's important what we do. And we don't have the option to slow down and think about, gosh, this is a bummer, that I can't leave the house. A lot of people were excited. But after a while, after 3 months, I think we all were tired of our own selves. But it worked out in the sense that you create new things to do, new team building events, which is why we'd have some fun games on Zoom. But this is why I'm really excited for the Metaverse, because we could do more interactive and be in a room together. And it's just a different way to play. So, and it's keeping everyone happy, keeping them close as a family. That's paramount. It's not really a place of work. It's a place we call home. We're lucky enough to work with people we love.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
Dr. Mart, we're going to head over now to digital literacy. What role should it play in today's education system?
I think literacy in digital space should really be of paramount importance, especially for the young kids. I'm an older guy, right? And we tend not to be able to adopt digital currencies and all the digital technology as easy as these kids. The faster we can onboard them as early as possible. You see these young kids now, they're 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 years old, and they're playing on their iPads and doing these things. It's just spectacular. But I think the more we can engage them in the digital currency space when they get older and get understanding that, hey, you can use the monies in a different way, the more valuable it's going to be to the society. Because one of the issues of digital currencies in the world we live in is the adoption. It's just not being adopted. So if we can teach all these young kids that this is a very normal way of doing it, people use Venmo and PayPal and other things. Well, this is just another mechanism to engage those technologies so that they can sort of use digital currency with confidence.
Heading over now regarding data. Is data an asset?
Yes, I think absolutely data is the big asset. And I think about what our company does, and we get a lot of data together and also leverage the AI to constantly stream the data, then create the decision on the underwriting. So it allows us to really work remotely and all everywhere. So we have employee in the different country work for us. Even, we have the employee in different state, but we remotely connected through the technology, through the data. And when we look at part of insurance company, as insurtech company, what we do is underwriting. So the traditional underwriting is a human read through a lot of documentation or in the computer, but through the data analytics and the data become a variable assets for us to turn this decision to be a wonderful product and to sell this insurance coverage to the small business, help them to save the cost, to look at the different population. Data is the goal for the new age, definitely.
So, Jessica, you come from the insurance sector where there's lots of risk, lots of liability, lots of policies, lots of procedures, lots of compliance issues. As we now move into this world where this new sort of reality is coming in, where people are using their devices, how do you control it?
Well, we make sure they're company devices. We start there. And so we have, like I said, we have our own IT department. We have an operational department with hardware. And so the best way to control that is just giving them company issued laptops. And so we don't allow them to download certain data. For example, you can't file and save reports. And there's certain triggers we have when reports are being run that's outside the norm. So we're trying everything we can to do so, but it's quite impossible because people do have phones, right? You could do much of whatever you choose these days, but it comes down to looking at the cadence of the reports they're running. Is it within their job scope, and is it at that regular time of month that they're running these reports? And so there's different ways to look at this, and just keeping a close eye on it. And you're always having to change it. What's fascinating is that we've brought people on that have, after COVID, and having to bring people on, that's not easy because we're missing out what we believe is our company culture, what sets us apart. But being able to bring new employees on, to integrate them, and for them to still feel the company culture, that's wonderful. There's a lot of touch points, and there's a lot of team building events, and a lot of check-ins. And so we just kind of do this together, but it's really impossible to make it 100% foolproof. But when we get there, I'll be the first to let you know.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, although my 9 and 10-year-old might be able to break into it. You're saying we don't let them on the screens too much, but my gosh, when they're on there, they're like smarter and quicker than me. It terrifies me.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think you want to jump in, Dr. Mart. I see you holding the mic a little closer.
No, my point is, it is insane. These kids, their ability to engage it so much faster. And I think we've always had that capability. We've never been exposed to it. Our brain is the most powerful computer in the world, and so when it's presented to us, we can make it happen. And these kids are showing that it can make it happen very simply, and they make it look simple.
Yeah. Pretend they can't until they get my passcode. I'm like, oh, I thought you didn't know that. Sorry.
Yeah, the cybersecurity is a big issue concern here, right? So for us, our company dealing with millions of the records and the data. So we have InfoSec office constantly give people training. We have firewall, and then every staff to go to the course and try. And they have our InfoSec people sometimes they also trick us, give us the phishing email to see whether we open it or whether we respond to it. So this has become really center of the digital world, and we be careful because you don't know who is the other person sending an email talking to you, right? So especially for our company, the InsurTech company, the data, the assets, the digital, we don't sit in one office to work with each other. Interactions mainly from the screen. So how do you know the other side of the screen is the person you intend to talk to? We build the process in such point in time. We have to make a phone call to verify the information. For somebody instruct the wide information or have some critical financial data, we not only receive the email, but we have verified through the phone call. So it's a very interesting world we're living in, definitely.
Jumping over now to the education aspect a little bit more. I mean, we have Socrates and Plato and Aristotle that came from Greece, and they changed the world. They proved that there was more than what we thought we knew. They were risk takers. They showed courage to speak their mind. Dr. Mart, you are someone who I've always known to speak your mind with courage. And when you were talking about something that necessarily today isn't widely adopted, some people might think that you're insane or that you're crazy. And I'm sure Jessica is your company many, many years ago. We're dealing with worst case. The world shuts down. Worst case, our employees can't work from the office. You had to set up what could happen, what could be. to prepare for the moment if it did. So, Dr. Mart, talk about the education side. How do we learn more? Where do we go? When there's so much information out there, where do you go to learn?
Yeah, we're in a world of information overload. It's being bombarded on every second, it seems. It's whether it's the internet, social media, books, just everywhere you look, there's like almost no time not to be looking at something. You have conversations with people, you're always looking at your phone. So for me personally, I try to find as many outlets as possible where I can assimilate data as much as possible for me. You tend to be a speed reader. You try to flip through things. You tend not to be as in tune as you used to be, and maybe engaged in certain details. But for me, it's more challenging personally. And I think from a lifestyle standpoint, you sort of need to chop things out to sort of not be overwhelmed by it, because it gets challenging. Family life, personal life. Friends. I mean, it's tough, but from an education standpoint, like Bitcoin and digital currencies, I just went down that rabbit hole and just learn and learn and learn. But yeah, people did call me crazy. You're what are you doing? But we're getting to the point now, the transition point in digital currencies is that there's that whole FUD thing where fear, uncertainty, doubt. We're transitioning away from that now with the Bitcoin ETF passing last week. That's providing some more reassurance for people to sort of engage, hey, there may be something to this. But it's like anything. The people back in the day, the Platos and all those folks, they thought they were crazy, right? And now they transition over to there's something behind this. And I think the digital currency space, the metaverse, it's all going down that path. Where you educate yourself is challenging, but meetings like this, CE courses, there's many places to get the information. The question is it the right information?
So it sounds like you're saying this is not something that we should fear. This is something that we should embrace. Maybe some baby steps, but they say in poker, don't go all in until you've seen the next hand. Mm-hmm. You're saying to take it one step at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't need to go all in on the front end, but research is now showing, even in the digital currency space and Bitcoin, just little bits of adding that to an investment portfolio greatly enhances the return. So even if you don't even believe in Bitcoin or you think it's a scam or whatever it may be, that's okay. But the research supports, hey, just get started, dip your toe in it, and then see how it works. And if it works out for you, fantastic. But the data supports it now. And each and every year we get more into this space, it's going to be more understood and accepted, and people are more excited about it because it is the future. Unequivocally, the blockchain and all these things is that this is where the world is going.
So I have two children. I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old, and I try to explain to them that the internet lives forever. So let's dive into that a little bit, that this is here to stay. These technologies are here to stay. What about the privacy and security aspect of it, Julia? And then same thing, I'm going to go over and talk to you, Ms. Jessica.
So for the privacy and the security, I think it's more important for us to look at the privacy and security. And I would say in this world, privacy and security is something everybody think that's important, but it's not enough protection. It's very wide used without a lot of intelligence, and also without really real protection of private data, right? So think about how many times you get the phone call, have marketing people talk to you. On the point in time, you don't even want to pick up the call. You are wondering how they get your information, how they get your phone number, right? And when you start to think about your privacy, it's really protected when you go online, when you start to social media share your photos, story. And what the entire thing's about is really in the digital world, we're evolving, we really need a little bit of regulation about that area to protect us. So I think this is a very big theme, and the world is going to evolve more digitalized, but we should focus on that as well.
So, Jessica, kind of jumping in terms of what Julia's saying as well, regulators around the world, they're trying to figure this space out themselves, as companies are, as individuals are. You've worked with regulators. Your company is compliant. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, we have to be HIPAA compliant. That's just a part of our job. That's a mandate. And so we take this very, very, very serious. We are also high trust certified, which is not easy to keep up with. We have renewals every few years, but this is something we're consistently looking at, especially when we're developing new applications or bringing new technologies on. There's just so many different things to consider, and with our carrier partners, we don't have that option. We will no longer be like the leading GA if we can no longer promise them that their information is guaranteed. And I take this very seriously. I've had identity theft. It had to happen to me to understand just how painful it is, but that's how serious it is at our company. So it's not an option. This is our business model. And so it's always going to be changing, and looking to those that are specialized and focused on it, that's wonderful. The hard part is there's always new ones coming out. It's always new people coming out say they can do X, Y, Z, and trust but verify. And speaking to our carrier partners, it's important what they're looking at, what they consider. But it's one of the most important pieces in all of our lives. And I look forward to bringing biometrics into our world and the metaverse, which will help reduce the amount of any breaches. So this is a real big pain point for many in this world on a personal level and in business level. But what we do, we're protecting the integrity of our clients with the social security numbers and medical history and whatnot. So we're always looking at this. It's always changing, though. That's the complicated part. It's always changing. So it's a wonderful question, and as long as we keep changing with it and stay ahead of it, and always doing extra checks and never rely on one source, to have multiple vendors you work with. If somebody says it's great, fine, that's their lens. I want to see this through other different lenses. So
thank you, Jessica. And you said something interesting, trust but verify. So in the United States, we have this regulatory body called the SEC. And I think about a year or so ago, they had put out on Twitter, the only place to get information from is the SEC. Trust the SEC. And I think it said something along those lines. So people look to the SEC to trust them. Most recently, I think last week, Dr. Mart, as you recall, the SEC's Twitter page was hacked. And somebody took control of it, and it said that congratulations, we've just passed the Bitcoin ETF. It had a quote from Gary Gensler. We found out about 30 minutes later around the world that it was a hack. So how do you trust but verify when the regulators themselves, or the regulatory bodies who are there to protect us, when they can't even keep their accounts from being compromised? And how are digital wallets going to be any different in this world? And are digital wallets safe?
Well, is it to me? Yeah, so on the digital side, the issue with the digital wallets, whether it's a cold wallet or a hot wallet, those are safe because you hold those. That's the beauty of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. You are the owner of that particular asset. Now, SEC, they fought for many years, no Bitcoin ETF, no Bitcoin ETF, blah, blah, blah. So that was pushback. One of the issues now with that is now that it's been passed, a lot of money is going to be flowing, tons of money, because the onboarding process for people to get engaged into Bitcoin is going to be dramatically easier. Just call your broker, hey, your advisor, hey, get me into the space. Problem is, from a regulation standpoint, if SEC gets a little bit upset about how things are going, all those assets are more or less custodied on Coinbase, they could more or less wipe them back. So there's no protection. The beauty of cryptocurrency is to be able to protect it and hold it, in your own possession. Whereas if it's it's being custodied somewhere else, then it's fully accessible to the SEC. So who do you trust? How do you work around that? I'm not a big fan of trusting that. You just have to do your best. Regulation will always be a good thing to a certain level, but you don't want to overregulate it, because it's Bitcoin was meant, because the reason things came into existence is because there was problems in our monetary system back in 2008.
And Julia, coming over to you. Talk to those that are on the sidelines right now. They're still a little unsure. They don't want people getting more data from them. They don't trust where it is right now. And artificial intelligence is a little scary. There are people that are becoming unhirable because they are not keeping up with the times. And corporations that aren't able to pivot, as Jessica said, likely will not succeed in this new digital revolution that is here to stay.
Yeah, I would say, yes, a lot of people are skeptical about, AI. A lot of people are skeptical about the word. But this is something, for example, our company, when we're looking at from whether it's data security or whether it's when we're looking at how we leverage all those AI information, use the technology to help out our customer. This is something, it's beyond what we think skeptical. It's here to stay. We think about an old time when we're looking at the currency. When the currency started, it's just a variable goods to make exchange. Then we go into the gold. And then we become fiat currency, and which will become paper. Now it's transformed to digital. It's really the evolution of how everything evolved around the technology. So yes, it's skeptical when people use the carriage to say there's a steam train coming, that's a problem, everybody's going to lose a job. But fast forward, you look how the society has been evolving and be benefit from this technology. It's been a wonderful thing. So I would say embrace the change and just take advantage of how the technology brings to us.
Thank you, Julia. Jessica, same question for you. To those CEOs that are on the sideline, they don't know what the next step is. Give them a little guidance.
Well, the next step is to look around and assess. Are you keeping up with your competitors? Are you leading the charge? And if you're not keeping up with them, what are they doing that's better? And go out to your customer. How are they working? That there's a lot of clients we work with or partners that are still living on antiquated systems. And that means you're still going to have to be able to meet them to where they're at. Although you could be on a rocket ship, you're still going to have to be with those that have not 100% adapted or help them adapt. And I would just ask, we're all here to help each other and support each other. And it's okay to ask questions, but not addressing it is an issue. But, ask your staff. There they have the feet in the street. Ask them what their experience is. If they're going out to sell something and they're not successful, well, why? Bring that back and listen to them. Don't just listen to what the news is saying or what you're reading. You have to actually just involve your team with you. So together you can grow this together. And that would be my best advice.
And same for you as well, Dr. Mart.
On the privacy side, you're...
On the side of preparation, somebody wants to begin this process of exploring, and they don't know the next step.
Well, dentists, by their nature, tend to be very slow to accept these types of things. And that's one of our problems in our financial business, too, is when you have new technologies, try to get to embrace and teach them is tough. But we do our best in our business, our line of business, through podcasting and sort of getting the word out to as many people as possible. Say, how are we going to get all these people on board with something that is changing so rapidly? And it's challenging for the people in my mind, in the world that I live in my environment.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody who joined us. Julia, I think you have a few final words you want to throw?
Yes, I would just want to add on. I said, we look at the customer first, right? So this digital world, people get used to just push the button to get their goods delivered home. Today, nobody want to make fax, long phone call to get things, really is consumer-driven behavior. So we look at what a customer wants, and we want to be front to the customer to deliver their needs. And then that's really the changing part of the world. To Jessica's point, we need to help each other, help how other companies doing, but move forward, that's the way.
Jessica, final thoughts.
Final thoughts are eliminate every reason for them to say no to you. That's the best advice I can give. Why can't we work with you? Well, why? Okay, so I'm not where I need to be. New processes, people, technology. Okay, so I'm I'm going to resolve all that. And then people that haven't changed their mind haven't changed anything. And I guess my final thoughts are blessings on the journey. And the struggle is definitely real. Success is not guaranteed, but the struggle is. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you to our audience. Thank you, Greek House. Thank you, Irene. Thank you to our incredible panelists. And we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.